What's cooking, Keto fam? It's Friday at 5, so you know what that means. It's time for Is Vodka Keto. Woo! Back again. Here, want to pull you into the screen here, into the fray. There we are. Okay. And today we are having on Dr. Sam Graber. So let's head to it.
Good.
All right. So we are here with Dr. Sam Graber. Dr. Sam, do you want to tell us a little bit about your story to start us off?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I've been a real food advocate forever. For years, though, I'm a chiropractor by trade. I retired in 2016 to get into more of the coaching side because I've always loved the hands-on, but things changed a little bit with reimbursements, et cetera. And I realized that what I loved was helping people make that transition and transformation more into just a truly healthy person. And I found ketosis around that same time, honestly, because what I had been doing previously to, manage a healthy body mass, just wasn't working because I hit that sort of mid 40s phase. And yeah, right. And we think, and then of course we go through and we start beating ourselves up, and then that goes down this terrible, terrible path. But as I was realizing, the shift that was happening with the metabolism and then hormones, it just made me realize how uninformed or misinformed we are about our bodies as women, and this whole life cycle, the hormones and how they are affected by our metabolism. So that sent me down this path of getting into the perimenopause coaching, which is where you'll find me now. I just love what I get to do. Every day is something new, and it's solving a new mystery.
Well, that's super exciting. So just to help our listeners right now while I'm thinking of it, where can they find your perimenopause stuff? Like how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Yep, the easiest way is just look at how my name's spelt here on Zoom, and just without the period, go to drsamgraber.com. And you'll see all sorts of information there. Follow me on LinkedIn, which is where John and I met. I'm on there. I write prolifically on the topics of metabolic health, menopause continuum, which is from, setting ourselves up to go through menopause, which is the best. I mean, had I known then what I know now, forget about it. It would have been great.
It's different.
But now, I want to extend a hand to the women who are coming up behind us.
Absolutely. So on that note, I didn't even realize there were things that you can do to prepare for menopause. Like, what are some high level type things that people should be thinking about?
Yeah, really, honestly, the best thing you can do is become metabolically flexible. And that's the key. And that's why ketosis is so on my radar. And it's the ketosis from what we eat, the nutritional ketosis versus just taking in a bunch of ketones, because that's a whole different animal. But if we're eating in a way that supports our metabolic health of each of our cells, as early as possible, ideally forever, which of course the standard American diet is not interested in. But we all on this screen are interested, and I'm sure your listeners are wanting to figure out ways they can prepare. Because we kind of think
so hard. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
It's so hard to find any medical people, or not any medical people, but it is difficult to find someone who understands, doesn't blow you off, and doesn't believe in the food pyramid and things like that. It's just so ludicrous.
It is.
It's not helping, and they're like, oh, it's that time of life, and you just have to learn to live with it. Well, no, F you.
Yes, I'm right there with you, Geri.
That.
Right, and then we get kind of dismissed, and I mean, we could go down this rabbit hole. Believe me, I like to go hunting for webbits, but I can often find that it comes back to what we can do for ourselves, and the easiest and most impactful thing is what we eat. And when we eat, right? I mean, we've been taught, we're supposed to graze all day. We are not ruminant animals. We do not have 5 stomachs. We are not meant to be eating all day long.
Exactly.
We are meant to eat in bursts. That is really how we're designed. This whole agrarian type of life that we have now, where it's 8 to 5. That's our work day. We have an hour at lunch. Your metabolism doesn't freaking know that. It did not get that memo.
I've just
right?
started listening in the mornings to a podcast called The Anthro Chef, and
Ooh.
he takes food through history.
Oh, I would
It's
love that.
Brilliant.
Okay.
It's just brilliant. And he talks about how much smaller, how earlier we died once we settled down and ate nothing but grains. That just the size of people, the length of their lives back in the Neolithic changed completely because we weren't eating that way anymore.
Right. And our brains developed this way because of eating animals, and I'm all about being very, conscientious. I'm a lover of the regenerative agriculture. You'll see me on LinkedIn. I have a farmer crush. It's Will Harris at White Oak Pastures. Love that man. Love everything they stand for. And that's really the model that I think we should shift towards, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And I mean, people forget that, for the majority of human evolution, it was not towns. It was not, anything close to what we have now. It was like, okay, cool. We found this apple tree. I'm going to eat as many apples as I possibly can. And it was evolutionarily beneficial for our bodies to be able to hold on to as much of that fat as you can, because you don't get very many apple trees full of apples. You don't get very many deer that you get to kill and eat. So when you eat it, it made sense for your body to just be like, let's suck up as much of this as we can. But when now we're in this situation where it's like the biggest thing that I always say is like, you can go to any country on planet Earth and find someone who's fat, because we've been so good at making food, condensing energy in these just delicious, palatable, shelf stable. I mean, everything mechanized food. And you go, oh, wow. It's weird that our body is not.
You go with that too long, and then you get to Soylent Green as people.
Yes, right. It's true. And we have shifted so much, and people are so disconnected from their food, and as a chef, like you get that it's such an intimate relationship, and to know where your food comes from, and you don't have to know like all the biochemistry, but to know what that food is there for, and why it's important to eat it when it's in season.
Well, and people don't cook anymore.
Yeah.
It's a lost art. People, hear all the time, oh yeah, but you're a chef, but I can't cook. Yeah, you can. It's idiot proof, because it's been around a really long time, and you can do it.
There's a little bit of a learning curve.
There's a little.
I'm not too.
Well, not everyone can cook French food or something like that.
Right.
Anybody can throw a steak on the grill and make a salad. You can. It's just you're lazy, maybe.
Yes, I totally agree. And and we get into these habits, right? We go to the drive-through and delivery. It's super convenient. But after a while, you realize, okay, look at that food that you're ordering. Like, you probably could make it. I mean, it's really not that difficult. Absolutely. And when you have things, like things like you guys with the bread mix, I am not a baker, but it's really easy. I mean, it's very easy to do. You plan a little ahead. I take people through.
You got to give yourself a block of time, but otherwise, it's very, very simple. And back to fast food very briefly. If you leave that food on the floor of your car for a month and you go back and look at it, it looks exactly the same. So what is that?
Right. Right. I always say the longer the shelf life of your food, the shorter yours. If your food can't spoil, ain't no food in your food.
Nope,
right?
No food.
I mean, there's nothing in that. Your body can't do anything with it. What's the point? It's just expensive poop at that point. I mean, really, if you're lucky, you get rid of it. So, I mean, not to get too gross, but.
So I want to ask you something. Earlier you mentioned that you're not big on the exogenous ketones. I kind of want to dig a little deeper in that. Like, can you tell me? Like, I'm not a shill for exogenous ketones. I'm just kind of curious.
Sure. Well, I think that our body is designed with the very best kind possible. And so when it's endogenous, our body is making it ourselves. That's the best kind. You look at all the products that are on the market. There's going to be something done to it, some processing. Obviously, it's going to have something that's keeping it shelf stable, something that took it from something else. And I'm just a hippie at heart, and I just think whatever we can make ourselves out of our own food and our stored food, that's just the best way to go. And that's just my opinion, only because honestly, I haven't found anything that really floats my boat more than what nature can do itself.
Uh-huh.
I have to agree with you. I've tried a
Mhm.
bunch of the ketone salts and some of the
Mhm.
ketone esters, and we'll do the little continuous glucose monitors,
Yeah.
and I mean, you want to have a continuous glucose monitor go crazy and think you're dying, drink some ketone esters.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, cool, because it just
Ah.
plummets your blood sugar, because the ketone
Okay.
esters,
Ah.
the esters will bring you up to like 5 millimolar, which is like, it's not
Mm.
quite keto. I mean, obviously, I think ketoacidosis is above 15
Yeah.
millimolar. So you're like a third of the way there, which is not, I don't know if that's exactly what you want. Sometimes it can make me feel not great, which is definitely, for as expensive as ketone esters are, I go,
Mhm.
man, like for someone, maybe if you have, epilepsy, or if you're like
Yes.
treating a condition, like I
Yes.
understand, wanting to get that exogenous boost. But
Mhm.
for me, I'm like, man, you're saying that I have to pay for this? Like, this doesn't seem like a like that good of a deal if I'm gonna
Right.
feel worse, and still I can be in, pretty good solid ketosis just from eating the foods that we eat,
Mhm.
and intermittent fasting, which is, pretty much just the basis of how we get down these days.
Yeah.
Right on. I love it. And that's it. And it's if you take that money and you put it towards good food.
Mhm.
People say, "Oh, I can't afford this or that. I can't afford regeneratively raised." Well, if you take money and you shift it from where you're spending it now and
Uh-huh.
all those, expensive drinks that people take in, not thinking that that's part of their food budget.
Uh-huh.
One thing I work with the clients all the time, and I say, "Okay, let's look at what you're spending on food." And I'm talking, drinks and alcohol and coffee and all the things and all your fancy water and your $4,
That's
whatever thing at the coffee
those things
shop.
add up like crazy.
Big time. Yes, big time. And then if you just shift that money into real food that your body can do something with,
Mhm.
it's so much better and it's cheaper. I mean, people more than pay for any program they work through with me by the savings in food and all the pick me ups and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like you
exactly.
realize you're like, oh well, I don't go to Starbucks that much, and it's like, well, yeah, you start off with your morning with a $5 coffee, and then after you eat your lunch, you're sitting there crashing, so you're eating, and you're getting another $5 coffee, so you're at
Mhm.
$70 a week in
Yeah, and
coffee.
I think you're lucky if I don't know. I've
Yeah.
not been to a Starbucks in a million years, but I think they're more than $5. I mean, they are very spendy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
Oh yeah.
very
Well,
spendy.
I'm an addict to coffee, so
Yeah.
Oh, dude,
I
no judgment here. Totally get that.
I had but I'll go in there. I have a very easy order. I'm like, hey, give me a venti cold brew, no ice, and just black, and it's great. I love it. I'm sure that my mom doesn't like it when I drink the venti cold brew, no ice, because I'm just sitting there like, let's do some Excel spreadsheets. But yeah, no, it's pricey, and then they get you on the upcharges. They have, you're always tempted, and so much of the food, especially in the restaurant space, is like they realize that people want low carb options. So for
Yeah.
instance, Starbucks will offer something like an egg bite, and if to a layperson you're like, oh, egg bites, eggs, cheese, like this seems like it would be low carb.
Yeah.
And then you look at the ingredients label if you're OCD like
Yes.
me, and you go, okay, so the number 2 ingredient in here is wheat flour. Like this is not. You guys are missing the
I
entire.
don't see how
boat.
anybody can be on any kind of a diet, whether it's keto or not, without reading. I mean,
Yes.
you feel like you've read War and Peace after you leave the grocery store. Because
Right. And you got to get out your big, the magnifying glass because it's literally the
yeah,
littlest
little
font on the
tiny, which they
planet.
do on purpose, so that I can't read it.
Right. I take a picture. Make it bigger.
So the other thing is like what'll happen that we see is that companies will get bought out, and the first thing that General Mills does is they go, "Oh, whoa, erythritol? Hold on, no.
Right.
My friend, we can use dextrose. No one knows that it's not sugar, and we can save 15 cents a unit
Yes.
here." Like, and
Yes.
I don't want to smash on some of our competitors, but they're Atkins products where you're like, man, this is the guy who came up with low carb, and I don't, maybe I'm not the food scientist expert on polydextrose, but I'm like, man, a lot of these ingredients, like, they're pretty questionable.
Right. Yeah. If it's not found in nature, it's suspect. I have very few rules in my life, but those are them. If it's not recognizable in nature, I can't go in the store and buy it myself and assemble it. It's really not meant to be ingested.
Where do you stand on sugar alcohol?
God, that was exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. I think it's just more tomfoolery and shenanigans.
How do you feel about stevia?
Personally? Stevia, it's going to be highly processed. If you're chewing on the plant, cool. Okay. But again, I don't know. It depends on how it's processed. Now, if it helps people dial down their sweet meter, I'm all for it. Like, let's be real. Most people are absolute sugar addicts, sweet addicts, because we're designed that way. In nature, sweet associates with good, but again, it's only available in little amounts and very rarely. Yeah. So our body has, our brain has been honed to seek sweet. But the way we do sweet now with the GMO and the this and the that, I mean, our bodies just are no match for it. Our brains just freak out. So even stevia, anything that elicits that, oh, this is sweet or something sweet is coming, is still going to do the changes within your body. It still creates those insulin surges and all of those things, maybe not the same amount. And I have to see if there's some new research showing me something different. But I just think it's more of where we're trying to make up for something that we really could ideally just be getting out of the habit of and breaking out of our addiction to it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm guilty on the addiction to the sweet stuff. I think that the one benefit for me, at least, with erythritol is it kind of has this little self-regulating property to it.
Sure.
That if you eat too much of it, you will get really, really bad cramps.
Right.
Especially when we first came out with the coconut macaroons, and it was me and her actually in the kitchen hand scooping the macaroons for 12 hours, and we'd get done, and I'd be like, oh man, I'm gonna eat this whole bag of macaroons. Like, I'm gonna have 20 macaroons right now. And on the drive home, I just start feeling myself like, oh, this is not the right decision. And then I'm like eating. I guess thankfully or not thankfully, I'm sure we'll see in 20 years when I'm getting to pay the piper for all of the decisions that I've made. Because I found that Beano, it's like the enzyme for when you eat beans. It actually works great for sugar alcohol cramps, but I don't know. Yeah, it's one of those things where with anything, I go, should I take this every day? Like even the stuff where, like milk thistle, I'm like, you know what? Why don't let's cycle this? Because I just don't know how long. Because with anything, your body it is so good at being like, oh, this is the new baseline. Cool, let's adjust
right on.
So that this is here. And then all of a sudden you're like, I don't want to, stop taking milk thistle and then realize that, like my urine is now brown because my kidneys are no longer working or something.
Sure. Well, and that's such a great thing that you're looking at. It does come down to cycling things, and I'm not like a big carb cycler. I don't follow this regimen, but I think the more metabolically flexible you can be, and the more flexible you are in your relationship to food, and getting more in tune with yourself and what feels good and what doesn't feel good. And cramps are in that doesn't feel good column, and it's definitely an indicator to that your body's. Yeah, your body's.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah. Yes.
Too much.
Too much.
A couple of weeks ago, I just went insane, and his girlfriend made a lasagna.
Oh no, I like a lasagna.
and homemade bechamel, the whole 9 yards, exactly. And it would have been rude of me to say.
I mean, so rude.
So rude.
I am rude.
It's just not in me. Yeah,
I've been doing this too long, too hard. I'm like, oh, cool. I'll have more.
And I want to say
I'll have more baking mix
because I knew I was doing that. I knew all bets were off. I think the Church's fried chicken, something like that. So
cracked chicken.
Killing it.
So sick the next day. I just wanted death to take me.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is actually what I needed. I needed to eat that, and I needed my body to say, what in the hell did you do? What I was thinking.
Trying to kill me, woman.
Exactly. And then it was very easy not to, I have it in front of me. I'm like, I pass.
Right.
It's so weird how people don't realize, especially if you've never done clean eating, if you've never cut carbs out of your diet, you're like, how much different could I really feel? And it's like, you feel so much different just from an energy standpoint. Like it's like rest. I got a real rude awakening to the power of not sleeping the other day. I went to jujitsu on 2 hours of sleep, and I was like, man, I'm getting smashed by everybody, and it's
even a little 7-year-old.
Yeah, I'm like
my ass.
Like a 95-pound girl just to put in an arm bar. I probably ought to actually manage my sleep. But it's so easy if you're not, if you don't have it illuminated to you through experience. It's very easy to just kind of dismiss it and be like, well, how much different is eating a clean burger versus eating, McDonald's, right? What's the real difference? And it's you only know if you're willing to take that, that leap and find out.
Yeah.
Sure. I agree. Yeah. And a lot of it is again, just trial and error. And then what are you committed to? And there does come a point, and Geri nailed it, where your body just says, we can't keep doing this. And that, I think, the reason, I work in the perimenopause and that midlife phase is there comes a point where we've had all this backup of the toxins. And I mean, don't even get me started on the things in our skincare and, our products.
The app.
Yeah. Oh, did you? The EWG?
Oh, yeah. I went through my bathroom. I was like, oh, geez. It's good
throw
thing
it out. Throw it out. It's terrible.
Exactly. That's gone. That's gone.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it basically comes down to a couple items. But then really, because we're women, we've been marketed to with all this crap and, the this and that, splash this on. And, what do you really need? A couple things for your hair.
Yeah, exactly.
A couple things, skin, I stopped dyeing my hair in 2019, and it was one of the best things.
Close. I'm so close.
Good. Go for it. Hey, if you need a champion, you call me anytime, because it was really one of the best things I've done, because I've been eating well, I've been exercising, doing all these things, and I'd be putting that stuff on my head, and I'm like, wait a minute. And I just realized this is something that's not congruent with what I want to be doing. And, so I just stopped, but it was my time, and I just felt that it was the right thing. So when it feels like the right thing,
you have very pretty hair. I mean,
I got lucky.
It's silver. And you've got some wave to it, and got a good healthy head of hair. What my grandma would call your crown and glory.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And it's gotten healthier since I stopped dyeing it. Honestly,
sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So that just aside.
I've got to ask, what kind of exercise do you do? What kind of exercise do you recommend?
That's different for everybody, but personally for me, I like to lift heavy things and put them back down. And that just feels good to me. Yeah, Ma.
Yes.
Let's do it. Kettlebells.
I started walking, and I'm started walking on the regular, and I do like yoga. The lifting heavy
trying
things.
to get her into deadlifts.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get her
deadlifts. Oh, pound for pound, the best. But really, at first, if you've not been physically active, I created something I call restorative motion technique. It's a way of helping those joints get healthier, helping signal the brain. It's an alternating between a passive and an active exercise for just short bursts, 30 seconds on, 15 seconds off. It's a way to signal the body and to have the body know, oh, okay, we're going to work now, because we're so sedentary, and it just, we just don't.
I'll check that out, because I'm trying to, kind of.
That's the way to do it.
I don't. There have been times where I've decided to go for it and crippled myself for a week.
Oh, yes.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah, as a chiropractor for years, I had people like you every Monday in my office, and I get it. I mean, we think I could do that at one point, but really the things change. Our ligaments shorten, our collagen changes. So if we build into it and do it in cycles, again, the body loves cycles. To work through a lot of breathing to make sure we're oxygenating. All of the things, it all fits together, but it becomes overwhelming. And it's kind of why I'm in this space specifically as a lifestyle coach to help people set up their lifestyle over time, not take on everything at once, because we quit that stuff. I can't take on everything.
You get all these ideas and you say, Monday morning, I'm going to do this. And then by Tuesday, you're like, oh my God.
Who was that crazy person? We hate her. Yes. Yeah. So it helps to break it out, break it down over time and really look at what someone's history is, what their body's built for, any concomitant issues, if we have thyroid issues or, insulin issues or what medications, like all that matters. But it's not something that we need to always be outsourcing to a doctor person. The better we can know ourselves and have a great health team assembled. That's part of what I really love to teach people is what's the best healthcare team for you? And I mean, true healthcare, not disease care, totally different thing. So it's who's going to help support you, make sure you get the right labs, teaches you what those labs mean and doesn't just say, oh, no H's and no L's, you're fine. I'm like, no, why do they feel like crap? Like, that's not fine.
If everything looks like terrific on this paper,
right,
then why do I feel this way?
Correct. So it's looking at patterns.
Underlying something.
Always. Yeah, there always is. And sometimes those symptoms or the issues we're having are a warning that something's coming down the pike. Like we all know from insulin and the glucose and the highs and the lows, you don't see the insulin changes. You don't see those major glucose changes, but over time you look at your A1C, you look at what the patterns are happening. You might get a couple other little extra tests in there to see what's happening on the, on the downside. But it's not, the alarms aren't going off until the alarm has to go off.
Yeah.
But there are signals that we get. But because we're American and we're too dang busy to be paying attention to anything, we just, bulldoze right past it until there's need for alarm. But you can reverse so much. I mean, you can reverse almost everything. It just takes some effort, the right team to help you. And the right people in your corner. And you can't do it alone. I don't care who you are. It's so challenging because we have this monkey mind up here that's going to be like, that's not going to work. Remember the last time you quit and, all that crap that she says to us. So like I'll often say, you got to tell her to go out front for a smoke break and get your work done because people just clamor and tap her in your ear all night.
Yep.
100% agree.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Graber, we really appreciate
I've
you
enjoyed
coming
this
on.
so much. Yes, thank you.
Super awesome. We'll have to follow back up in a couple of months and see if we can't get it for another episode. But we just want to say thank you so much for coming on. One more time, where can people find you? drsamgraber.com. No periods, nothing, just regular.
Yep, no period, just drsamgraber.com or look me up, Dr. Sam Graber on YouTube. I've got a podcast as well. And then you can also find me on LinkedIn. I do a lot of publications on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Well,
it's been great, you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Geri. I'll follow up with you, okay?
Hey,
all right for me
absolutely.
to do? I would love to.
Great.
Awesome.
All right. Good luck, you guys.
Hey,
thank you.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Is Vodka Keto is brought to you by Ketonia. For the most delicious keto baked goods, stop by ketoniafoods.com. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and follow us on all social media at Ketonia Foods. Please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. It does more than you know. We'll see you next